Everything you're doing is super sick, and I'm stoked to talk about it.
Oh, I have taken the beer thing really seriously, so I've already started drinking.
That's okay. I also have as well, so we're on the same page there.
PBR, how nice to see it.
Um, do you have an extra beer that you have not cracked yet?
Yeah.
So to start the episodes, I usually do a crack. If you want to join in with that.
Okay, let me go get
All
one.
right.
One sec.
All right. Well, cheers. Let's get this. Three,
Cheers.
two.
Oh,
Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This week, I virtually traveled back to the UK for the first time in I think over a year at this point, and I'm sitting down with Iona from Ship Present. How are you doing?
great. Thank you. Yeah, really good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know we had a little confusion with time changes, which I learned some stuff today about global time changes between different countries. But I'm so stoked that you took the time, anyways, to sit down with me and talk about everything you have going on.
Yeah, cool. I'm excited. I'm ready.
Like I mentioned, you are from the band Shit Present from I think it says online like the southwest of England.
Yeah.
Um, and for people that might not be aware, you guys are like a pop rock punk emo. You like a lot about dive into some like serious topics on everything you do. But um, I mean, for one, if people haven't checked you out, I know I am late to the game, but also like please go check them out because they're super sick. Um, but Iona, let's start with kind of like the easy question. What do you do in Shit Present?
So I play guitar kind of badly and sing and write the songs.
And then I think we're also missing a couple members that also help you out with this project.
Yep.
Who are they and what do they do?
Great, yeah. So there's currently three of us. We recorded this album where our guitarist also played bass. He's called Tom. So he plays guitar, lead guitar mainly, but yeah, recorded bass on this record. And then Ben plays the drums. And then we've kind of been getting friends to play bass here and there. My brother just did some shows with us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's like we spent like 6 or so years not really doing anything. And during that time, yeah, our bass player, naturally got a bit of a life going on. So instead of kind of like replacing someone officially, like when we're not even really sure what we're doing yet, we just have been playing with friends here and there with like different bass players.
Well, that's awesome that you're still able to keep this going and kind of shuffle in people as you need. And then it's also nice to hear that like in some like music scenes they're always like very short on the amount of players that they have that play like a certain instrument. So it's
Yeah.
nice that you have seems like a good like Rolodex of bass players to come in and just like fill in for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a really nice thing about the UK like music scene is like you end up just knowing everyone. Every band just knows each other and helps each other out and you end up like playing in each other's bands and projects and stuff because nothing is far away.
That's
It's
true.
really different to North America like that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, especially like here in the states where, well, so I originally grew up in a different state, but we were all like pretty spread out for our like considered like local scene. So you'd only have
Hmm.
like a handful of people in one city, and then the rest of the people would have to be. We're usually like 3 or so hours
Yeah.
away, so that makes it difficult. I know some people did pull it off with like filling in and being in each other's bands,
Hmm.
but having that closeness of just an abundance and having such a tight knit scene does really add
Yeah.
up a lot.
It is really nice and it's easy to like take that for granted, but yeah, we currently the three of us are all in different cities. So Ben's in London, Tom lives in Bristol, and I live in like a smaller city, like an hour and a half south of Bristol, right in the southwest, called Exeter.
Okay.
So like, yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare, but it's also
Yeah.
fun.
I mean, well, props for getting that done. As we you kind of mentioned, there was that like 6 year lull of not
Yeah,
really doing anything, and that came after the first two releases that you did, the first two
yeah,
EPs. For people that aren't aware, you start out with the self-titled Ship Present
Mhm.
in 2015, and then Misery and Disaster in 2016, which I went through and listened to those as well, trying to get fully prepared for sitting down.
Cool.
And those still those hits still very hard. Like they're still
Oh,
super sick as well.
thank you so much.
Because like one thing, and we'll kind of dive into it when we get to the record here in a second, is I feel like you really don't hold back on your your content that you're writing about.
Mm.
Like there's a lot of, and you see it in the new record too. Like there's a lot of just past relationships and issues like that, and then also diving into like kind of your self awareness as well, and like your mental state and stuff. And like I think
Mhm.
that's really cool because some bands, I feel like how do I word this properly? Um, I feel like a lot of the bands that I listen to, which ends up being just like Midwest emo uh, dudes just doing their thing, they're always it always seems to reflect as like more about a relationship issue rather than most people that are like most people aren't doing self internal songs about about what they're going through like
Yeah.
mentally. So I thought that was really nice that you are willing to put yourself out there in that light.
Oh, it's nice to hear. I mean, it's like, yeah, like a self-analysis, like coping strategy, isn't it? Which I think is like, almost thought that's kind of like the cliched songwriter thing, isn't it? Like to help you like deal with the things you're going through. I definitely think it's like when I'm writing the songs, I'm not ever thinking anyone will hear it. It's not like that's I think, what kind of makes it quite embarrassing for me anyway, like putting music out compared to maybe other artists. Like
Mm.
it's very like, oh, like it's yeah, brutally honest, and not necessarily like how you end up feeling about a situation or yourself. Like when you've written the song, you're just like grappling with whatever. I mean, that's my process anyway, like grappling with whatever it is that I'm going through, and it helps me make sense of that. And then you're like, I feel entirely different about that situation or whatever, but the song reflects that time, and yeah.
And then, like I mentioned, Misery and Disaster came out in 2016. Obviously, there was this
Mhm.
6 minute, 6 year lull before this new record comes out.
Yeah.
Like, what, obviously, pandemic can chalk up for like a couple years of that 6 years, but like,
Mhm.
what was like, the hurdle that you had to come over? Because I
Sure,
know,
yeah, yeah.
in like the little write up that you sent, it kind of talks about, taking 3 years to at least write the first song off this new
Yeah,
record.
yeah, yeah.
Like kind of what were you going through in
Yeah.
that time?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be maybe brutally honest, and maybe I'll regret this in the future, but basically what happened to me was we released that EP in 2016, and I think it was that year or the next year that I went on this like solo tour of Australia, and like was like it felt like things were happening and I was really good, and I basically like my good mood just went up and up and up until I had quite a full manic episode, like a quite a clinical issue, and went to hospital. And like during that time, I wrote this album that I thought, I don't know if you like have, friends or you've struggled with this stuff yourself, but like during a manic episode, lots of people do like create lots of stuff that feels insanely like meaningful, and then it just turns out to be trash. And that's kind of
Mm.
like what happened to me. I wrote this album and I was like, I was really off my rocker, like playing these songs to like the hospital staff and being like, you know, um, just thinking that this I'd written this amazing album, and then kind of like the year and a half, 2 years where I was like kind of coming to terms with that episode I'd been through. I was really embarrassed of these songs I'd written, and like I was just like kind of I'm gonna put this side of me away, like this part of me that thought I was a good sort of like enjoyed writing songs. I just lost touch with reality like for a bit with my song and with my songwriting. So it just took me like a long time to feel like comfortable writing again, I guess. And then like that the first song on this record was like I just kind of moved out of my parents' house again. And like, sorry, this is like a little bit heavy, but we're just getting right into it.
Yeah, I
Um,
love it.
and then yeah, I was like playing around with the like opening riff of this record and just feeling like it just like came like okay, I'm just gonna do this again because it's such a shame to like let that thing that happened like affect me for years. Like I really enjoyed playing in this band, and like it happened really naturally that we wrote those EPs, and like maybe it's time that I, start writing again. And so yeah, then it just like over the next maybe year and a half, 2 years, started writing, and it was just happening naturally. And then it was about when we were going to start putting a record together that the pandemic hit. So I think it accounts for all the time. It was like 2 years like going
Yeah.
mad and covering, and then like 2 years writing, 2 years pandemic, and then we recorded. So like 6 years sounds like such a long time, but to me it was like it's very like filled. Like
Right. Yeah, that's why
yeah,
I mentioned like the pandemic at least accounts for a part of it, so it's not like
yeah,
as yeah, it doesn't seem as big. But like, I mean, you saying this and putting it out there like adds as someone that's like a obviously I listen to a lot of music. I try and stay up to date with some with stuff. Um, it adds a whole other element to all these songs, and
oh.
I feel like you're I know how we like talked before. Like this is your first style of doing this stuff.
Mm.
Um, it will for a lot of people. You saying this will connect it even more, and I'm sure you'll find even more people like finding a whole other meaning behind everything and wanting to connect with it in a whole other way. So
Well, I've been kind of like in two minds about talking about that period and like what happened, because on the one hand, I think this album's like quite like you say, it's quite what's the word, like just very obvious, very direct. Like the
mm-hmm.
lyrics are very like what you see is what you get. It's I think that first song is very much like here's a song about having a mood drop disorder, so for me to then going around like talking about it, it's kind of like letting the music, do I let the music like speak for itself, or do I kind of want to talk about that? I haven't kind of decided yet, but we're trying it out with this first interview and see. Yeah, so it's nice of you to say that.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, just kind of jumping right into this record. It comes out May 5th, so by the time
Mhm.
this episode comes out, it's going to be a week or two until it fully comes out. It's called What Still Gets Me, and I think it's a 12 song, it's your debut LP, first LP, which I know for a lot of people is a big deal just to write an EP, but to come up with
Mm.
12 songs or more and drop it down to an LP. Congratulations for that.
Thank
Um,
you.
the song that we're talking about here, which is the first song off the record, is "Cram the Page."
Hmm.
But I mean, so far with this album, you've released three singles.
Hmm.
You've released "Fuck It," "Voice in Your Head," which is the one that I found you off a playlist from, and then "More to Lose." And I gotta say, like, even those first four songs, like listening to this full album, like I'm hooked already, and then every song after those four just keeps building and building, and like nothing. I'm trying to like I wasn't let down with the next song at all. Like this was such a fun album just to listen
Oh,
to. I
thank
mean,
you.
obviously there's some darker moments in it, but it was a 10 out of 10. Like this is amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I sent it to my mum. It's funny that you say that. And then was like, what do you think? And she was like, it was hard to listen to. I was like, oh, what? I was like, in my head, I just like, it's just like embarrassing pop punk crap. Like, what do you mean, mum? And then I realized like the content is like, yeah, it is like raw and dark at times. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's definitely one that really has like that punkness to it, where you can just put it on like a playlist and just like when it comes on just jam out to it, and then it's also a nice record where you can sit back and just let the lyrics flow into you and just like feel things if that's what you're wanting to do. Like it's got something in there for everybody.
That's really nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Obviously, like I mentioned, you've released those three singles so far.
Mhm.
What's the response been on those? I mean, those are your first singles in 6 or 7 years.
Mm. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I've been wondering this. Like, what, like, I don't know how much, what, I just don't have any frame of reference. So, I I mean, I don't think I'm surrounded by a lot of people. Like, my friends, like, don't know or care really. Like, not that they don't support me, but I'm not like, it's not like I'm like got a lot of people around me like, this is really good or your song's really good. It's just like, I guess, like, it feels like people have listened to it judging from just like Spotify, but like I don't know. I really
Right.
don't know what the reaction's been like. Um, yeah.
No, that's totally okay. Like I said, I found you from Voice in Your
Yeah, how
Head,
did you
and
find it?
so I try and stay up to date. So I have like the new release radar like playlist that
Mm.
I check out like every week, and that was one
Cool.
of the songs. And
Mm.
funny enough, since that time, since I've we set this up, it showed up on a few different playlists that I've checked out. Um, so people are have to have come across it in some way
Okay,
or
great.
form
Well, yeah,
on these
if
curated
you're
lists.
telling me the response is good, I'm gonna
Yeah,
take that at face value. That sounds like it's going well then.
yeah, it's going very well. This, like I said, this whole record's super sick. I'm trying to think. I do have like a couple things that I wanted to bring up. Obviously, like we kind of talked
Hmm.
about, you are not one to shy away from heavier topics in your songs. Like this record specifically, I feel like you cover elements of heartbreak, some shitty, sketchy relationships,
Mm.
and then obviously your internal struggles. Specifically, like in Voice in Your Head, where it's kind of like it's your inner self like singing to yourself is what I took it as,
Mm.
which I thought was super cool to do it that way. And I mean that song just rips. It's
Thank you.
obviously I mentioned it a couple times. I think it's like probably one of my favorite songs off this record. So yeah,
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's like that. I wrote that one was quite maybe one of the second song I wrote. So it's been a few years, and you start. It's funny, like the process of writing a song like that. I remember feeling like what you just said, like, oh, maybe this is like an interesting narrative. Like maybe thinking about this from being the internal monologue, being the writer is like an interesting way. And then 2 years later, I'm like, oh, it's just such a like. It feels cliched. It feels like embarrassing, and it's nice to hear it still like it can be received that way, that it is like an interesting kind of flipping the like songwriter being that, not because there's a
right,
few yeah it's
yeah, no, yeah, it definitely still works, and like it, I don't think it was until like the second listen through that like I fully realized like, oh, this isn't someone singing about like being like in the voice of someone else's head. It's their voice inside their own head singing to them. And it took me a little bit to figure that out, but once it did and it clicked, I was like, okay, that's really cool to do it that way.
oh
And like, I mean, again, just putting yourself out there in these situations to write about, especially like like I wrote down here, like what still gets me and Cross the Line, where they're angsty and you can just go with it, but when you sit down and listen to it, like talking about how like I think I lost the line. Like they were just a friend. It wouldn't happen to them or something like you wrote in there. I feel like, um, but like
yeah, I think I know the line you mean, like it's of the friend that goes too far or something. Is
yeah,
that the line you mean?
yep,
Yeah.
yep. Um, just like putting those out there, and like not a lot of people would do that, and like it
Really? Well, yeah.
like I've seen it done a couple times. I feel like, but not like I don't know.
What is it that you mean specifically that you
So
wouldn't put what out there?
at least maybe not what I'm listening to normally. I don't normally hear like a song like Cross the Line coming through, mainly because I will admit like a lot of the emo stuff that I listen to is all male fronted, I guess. So
Hmm.
like that's not something they would put out there. So hearing
Yeah.
it from this other perspective, um, from your point of view, kind of adds more.
Mm.
Because like I know Heart Attack Man, he put out like a single, kind of like kind of similar to that, but it's calling out like a lot of people, but it wasn't as raw, I would say, when you like fully look at it, where his is more like just like calling these people out, where yours is like actually from a point of view where of someone who may have gone through that, if that makes any
Cool.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that it's nice for you to mention that song because that song crossed the line as like one that maybe felt like a bit of filler and we didn't know if we'd put it on, but there's something about that again that like so that's like songs about. when like a man has like crossed the line with you or whatever, taken something too far or made you feel really deeply uncomfortable,
Right.
instead of it being like about going through that, it's about how it feels to like talk to that person about what happened. It's like kind of um yeah, so it's slightly different than just like this happened to me, which is what I've heard. This is what my friend Georgia, who sang on the record, was saying. It was just like it's nice to, she said anyway, it's nice to like hear it be about that particular struggle of like, this is my friend that hurt me this way, so I'm not gonna like throw them in the bin or like anything. I need them to know and I want them to learn that this wasn't okay. And like it's really like it's a really difficult thing from being the person that it happened to like face that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
it's nice that you brought up that song because yeah, it's not like the hookiest song or anything, but it does like the lyrics. Like I was really proud of those for like how much they reflected that situation I was in. Having to like talk to my friend about that. It was yeah uncomfortable.
Also, I think recently I noticed you've been playing a good amount of shows recently. Um,
We've been trying to
trying.
get yeah.
Um, how are these songs coming across for a live setting? Obviously, you're in the UK. I probably won't be able to see
Mm,
this anytime soon until you do that US tour. Who knows what's going
I
on?
hope so. Yeah.
But like, what's the fan response been?
I think it's been good. Again, I don't really know. I mean, like, I think for us, like, having not done anything in so long, we're just so like chuffed that anyone's there or like there's anyone singing along. It just like it all feels really nice and exciting. And um, I think having this like few songs that we used to play for quite a few years, now having this whole like new record that we can play, they're really fun songs to play live. They are like yeah, they have a lot of energy, don't they? They're like quite like
Oh yeah.
loud guitars, big choruses. Like they're really fun to play. I'm not sure, you know, how much other people are enjoying them, but certainly we're like really enjoying playing them.
Yeah, they're definitely good. Like I mentioned, like they're good punk songs that would kill live to see. In any setting, I feel like whether even like listening back to it, like they're ones that you could just put on and just kind of just jam out to, because of what you guys are doing.
That's so nice. Yeah. Well, I hope we do come to the US. I'm really down. Like, if we could find the time to like kind of book the really dodgy DIY tour where we lose money. That like I really want that experience. Like, I'm not really about like waiting for this great support or anything. I think like to kind of go off like messages from people and just like try and book something. Yeah, a little bit shit would be really on brand for us and just like kind of come over and see what happens. So I hope that we can do that in the next year or so, like a couple of years.
That'd be tight. If it does happen, you have to let me know, and I will make sure that
Please,
I'm
if you
at
could
one of the
help
shows.
us with the Minneapolis show.
Yeah, I'll help you out. I'll get you a place to stay. Like we'll figure it out.
Thank you. Great.
Uh, so I kind of want to shift real quick to this album art for this record
Yeah.
because it is. I mean, it's a great picture for people that haven't seen it. It's a younger child playing on the drums, just having a rocking good time. I know I saw like the post on the Instagram of the same child like kind of rocking out while I think you were playing the drums, kind of switching roles. But
Yeah.
who is that, and like why did you pick that for this album cover?
So that's my little niece. And I think like I was just really struggling with what direction to go with for the art. But that picture that I'd taken just felt like such a special moment. It really captures her like lost and playing the drums, like shaking her head, her hair everywhere. And it was like a um yeah, just a really nice like afternoon I'd spent with her where she was rocking out, and I just was like, okay, that can be a starting point. And then me and my friend Kay, who helped like put together the first two album covers as well, the
Mm.
EPs that we made. So it was like we just played around for an afternoon with different things, and like those are some film pictures I'd taken of like the like neighborhood. It's like a like in the countryside, like where I'd grown up. So we kind of like just played around with it until that came out, and yeah, I was kind of happy with it.
Yeah, it's it's such a great photo, and just like the filters that are on it to kind of mend them all, just work very well. Is she also the one that we hear throughout the record, like talking about like wanting to go to the beach?
No, no, that's another like friend of mine's kid. I mean, I wonder what I do have to like worry and consider like how these kids are gonna feel when they're a bit older. Um, but that's my friend's son, and yeah, that like he just screamed the whole way to the beach about not wanting to go. And then of course when we got there, he had the best time of his life, and it just really reminded me of like the bipolar struggle, just like dreading the thing that ends up being the thing, and just it was quite cute.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed those little touches of throwing those into like the end of the songs, like he because they fit well, like you're talking about how like the bipolar struggle, and then they're just happen to be on the song that like kind of just is kind of going over that. So it was a nice like back to reality style moment of you listen to this song and then it's like, oh right, like you don't want to deal with this, and then a few songs later like you're just talking about like going to the beach, and then like kind of vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
um, Also, with this record too, I know there's plans to do a vinyl release, which is currently up for pre-order. um, uh, I mean, obviously the first two EPs are on vinyl already. As you know, I just do a podcast, so I'm never gonna have like a tangible like record. Like, what was that initial feeling, like getting your first EP on vinyl? Like, do you remember that?
Yeah, I mean, it was net like we were making that first EP to just be demos for fun. Like, there was no sense of releasing it. And then I think like my our friends who run that label, Specialist Subject, asked to hear it, and we're like, let's just put it on vinyl. And I was like, what? It's like absolute crap that we recorded at home. And then they were like, yeah, just get. So it was just me and the drummer, and then we just got Tom, recorded the guitars from his bedroom, and my friend played bass from his bedroom, and then we just like pressed it on vinyl, and it's just like very unexpected and very cool. And it's the so they've just been up for doing we're up for doing the second EP, and then with the album, I had to like check, after a bunch of years, like, are you still up for like doing, or are you interested in doing this? And yeah, they're just great friends and really supportive and up for it. Specialist Subject Records, Bristol,
Hell yeah.
UK.
Okay. Yeah, because I think I saw the first EPs are on like their third or fourth pressing at this point. Did I see that right?
Is that right? I couldn't, I think it sounds about right. I mean, they were out of press for years. And then Andrew was like, go on then, let's get them repressed if we're going to do the album.
That's
Which
pretty
is nice.
amazing,
It's really
though.
nice to play
Yeah.
shows and have them, to be able to have all the records and, you know, sell them again.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. That something, especially like talking about like the first EP that was just going to be demos, basically just for fun, have now gone to third and fourth pressings on vinyl. Like, who
Yeah,
would have
well, yeah,
thought?
but we don't know how many each pressing was probably like 50 copies.
You don't need
I'm
to get
sure.
into those numbers. You just
Yeah,
say third or
yeah,
fourth
yeah,
pressing. Like
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
what you want to look at.
Yeah, exactly. Thousands each pressing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's 2,000 for each pressing, worldwide sellout.
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying to think what. So with this, like, I mean, I've kind of brought up a few different topics about this record, but obviously from like your point of view, if someone hasn't listened to it yet, like, what is something that they should be expecting or possibly getting out of this record if they check it out?
I mean, I, I don't know, but I think like the people, if anyone's gonna like it, it's gonna be the slightly unhinged, or like it's not necessarily what I'd call like a cool record. I don't think my songwriting is like very like breaks the mold. Like it's not. It's kind of more about if you're gonna connect with the stuff that I'm singing about, maybe if you're looking for that kind of experience, like listening to that kind of music, so like guitar distorted melodic punk kind of stuff, which and you want to relate to the lyrics, I think that this could potentially be something for you. But I think there's like so many bands like that you want to listen to because they make like the music is nice to have on and maybe interesting and cool, and that's not I'd say that it's not probably not for you if that's what you want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
um So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think I'm gonna learn. Like, I don't really know what it is that I'm like trying to do when I'm writing these or like releasing this. I don't really know how it will be when people hear it or anything. So I think I'll have a better answer for that maybe once I know, you know, how.
No, yeah, that's totally fair. Like I've said, this record rips and it's super good. If you're like just kind of bouncing off what you're saying, if you
Mm.
like fast driving hard punk melodic, this record will be for you. Um, I I mean I live in a house with a bunch of punk dudes, so like we
Mm.
would just turn on shit and just like let it run. And
Mm.
I definitely see this like going into the queue at some point. Um,
Cool.
it's like it's been fun to listen to. I think I listened to it just getting ready between the other day, yesterday, and today. I probably listened to it at least a solid 10 times, and
Hey, no,
I
you
was
probably
not,
listen to it more than anyone now.
and I was not, you know. Sometimes when I prepare for these and I have to like listen to stuff, by like the second listen I can kind of be like a little drained and have to give myself a break. I just let this like keep looping through. Like I was hooked, and I was
That's
just like
awesome.
jamming out. So
That's cool. I mean, that's what you want, really, isn't it? That's probably what I want to hear. Is like
yeah,
someone that just yeah, like playing the whole thing and wanted to hear it again. That's really nice.
um, I'm gonna. I haven't. I think I brought it up in one of the most recent episodes, but the festival question that I have is,
Hmm.
let's say you're going up to a festival, whether it's I think you guys have like Slam Dunk, if Warp Tour was there. There's always the line of people waiting to get in. You go up to them and you're like, "Hey, my name's Iona. I'm in this band called Shit Present. Check out my band." What would be like the one song that you would try and play for them while they're in this line to get them to check out your band?
Okay, I just want to say I would never do that to anyone, but I will play. I'll play the game, but I will not. I would hate to force this upon anyone, but if someone was up for it, I guess I would play them What Still Gets Me, the title track.
Yeah.
But what about this? I think it's like 4 minutes 50. So I'd be really holding them hostage, and it's probably a little bit like
So,
triggering for
yeah.
any woman. So maybe I'd play it to a man. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Um, no, like I honestly any one of these songs, if I was in line, you got me. Whether I'm sitting there listening to the whole song, listening to part of it while the line moves, I'm sure you would have quite a few people that would be very interested in checking out Shit Present.
Oh, I
Um,
appreciate it. I do think I've got to work on my confidence around this stuff because it just does feel like, it's hard to tap into that. Like, so like, you know what, this is good. I should be like shouting about it and showing people. I don't have that feeling at all, and I'd like to work on that because it's nice to hear that you'd be up for it.
yeah. Well, like you mentioned, this is the first of what I hope is many interviews that you'll be doing for this record. And you've had the 6 to 7 years off, so you'll you'll
Mhm.
you'll get into it. You'll shake off
Thank
those
you.
cobwebs. You'll be right
Thank
there.
you so much. I like this is turning into like a bit of a therapy session, and God knows I need it. So thank you.
Uh, well, like I've said, this record's great. I'm so happy that I was able to sit down and talk with you. Before we kind of transition, um, are you? Obviously, we kind of talked about like hoping to do a U.S. run
Hmm.
in the future. Do you have any plans for doing a little UK run for this album?
Hmm. Yeah, there is the idea to do a little round of shows. But what we're waiting on, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying, is Tom, our guitarist, is trained train conductor
Oh wow!
on Great Western Railway, GWR, and he doesn't have his rota yet for the next few months. So we're just gonna figure that out once we know. But yeah, we'll definitely try and do a few shows, like maybe the month after it comes out or something.
Oh yeah. With like a tour in the UK, obviously the UK itself is, I think how is not like super big. Obviously compared to like the US. If you were to
Yeah.
do like a full US run or do compared to like a full UK run, like how does strategically how do you have to like plan a run? Do you still stay like the south of the UK, or like how like what? As
Yeah, no,
me being an outsider, like how does this work for you?
yeah. I mean, I think it's funny, isn't it? When you're from the place, you take like to Glasgow, like the or is to Scotland from right down in the south all the way to the top. It probably only takes like 6, 7 hours to get to the hot like all the way across the UK. Like I've been joking about why don't we try and do a UK tour in like 2 days just as a fun, stupid thing. But I don't think anyone was into that idea. I think it was a bit stupid. But yeah, probably just try and get the whole breadth of the country over like 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
Um, it's really not. It's just not too far, is it?
Yeah, like that's. I mean, so I grew up watching like a lot of Top Gear and stuff like that. Obviously from they're from the UK, and I just remember like the challenges where they would have to like drive across the UK, and it would only be like, yeah, like you're saying, like
Mhm.
6 hours to get from north to south,
Yeah, yeah.
which is crazy. Growing up in the states where literally from where I'm at right now to where I grew up, I'm 5 hours away, and that's a
Mhm.
completely different like state, and
Yeah,
like I'd have to go south, and like that's crazy that the same distance or same time frame would be most of the UK.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, we
so
started a tour like a weekender I did with my other the band another band I play in, and we like the first show was Glasgow. It was just like three shows: Glasgow, Newcastle, and Sheffield. And we're all based down here in the south, and like we just drove up the first morning to Glasgow and played the show, like which is the other end of the country, and then the other two, and then home, and everyone went to work the next day. And yeah, it is. It's it's nice.
yeah, I mean that would be a lot nicer than like I've been on a couple tours where like we had to drive like 8 hours in between two different cities. So it would be a lot cooler if like a
Yeah.
lot of that stuff was a lot closer, and not have to sit in a van all day with a bunch of like
Mhm.
sweaty dudes. But
Yeah, that's what I mean. I can't wait to experience it. Touring the US.
it'll be a fun time.
I hope so. I hope it happens. It'd be cool.
Yeah. Um, all right. So as we start to transition, um, this is obviously beers with bands.
Hmm.
I know you have a couple beers in front of you there. What are you drinking
Hmm.
on this fine Saturday?
Well, I'm glad you asked because I've never drank this beer before. So I don't know for people that are into beer what they're gonna think, but it's the Brewdog Lost Lager, bought by we played in Manchester recently. And our friend Kieran, who put on the show, bought these. I think so. I don't know. Have you ever heard of them? Brewdog's
I
big, right?
I've never heard of them,
Are they
but
UK? I don't know anything
it's
about beer. I
it's
think they're a
possible.
UK company. Yeah.
But
Anyway,
how is it?
it's good.
Okay.
It's good. I'm enjoying it. I have a really poor taste in beer, if that wasn't clear. So, like the shittiest lager possible. As soon as it gets like hoppy and fruity, I'm not interested anymore. So, this is like a nice medium. What
Yeah.
are you drinking?
I'm having a good old Pabst Blue Ribbon, nice
Oh,
cold
of
PBR.
course. Sorry. Yeah.
So yeah, can't go wrong.
So you've got bad taste in beer as well.
Yes, yes I do. Uh, yeah, like I've started to get into this past couple times we've gone to a brewery because there's like a lot of breweries in the Twin Cities, and it's a big thing in like the U.S. market. But the past
Mhm.
couple times I've gotten um, like a fruity sour just to like try it, like because I had one and it was okay. So like every once in a while I'll get try one, and then it's usually just doesn't hit the same, and I'm like I'd rather just go to a gas station, pick up PBRs, and spend way less money than being at this
Don't
brewery.
take the risk. Never
Yeah,
take the risk to try something new. It could be worse than the
that is
shit that you're
true.
drinking.
Yeah, but yeah, PBRs are the lifeblood of this podcast. So
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I went to like the fest a bunch of years in a row, and that was all you drink there, right?
yeah, I have yet to go to the fest, but that's all I hear is just that's like
Sponsored
PBR.
by PBR. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
so
I'm familiar. I think I still like a PBR. It's been a few years, but
yeah. When was the last time you went to fest?
quite a while now. I think like I went to like fest 7 and 8, so I think
Oh
I was
wow.
like 18 and or 19 or something. I was really young. It was years ago, and then I went. Wait, I can work it out. I think I went the we play. I played in the first band I played in 2021. 2020, something like, no, sorry, I can't. That's not right. It's 10 years, like 2010 or 2011, something like that.
Okay, wow. Yeah, I I've had a few different bands from that have played Fest on, and like they're all like, "Oh, you need to go." And I have friends from the Twin Cities that go down and play, and I've just never been. And I mean, you took the time to go all the way from the UK to go to Fest. I feel like I
Mhm.
should just man up and just go down to Fest since I'm like
I
I
don't
just need to
know,
do
man. I don't, yeah.
it. Was it an enjoyable time?
Well, yeah, but I was like, a teenager and getting absolutely wasted and playing in my first ever band and having the best time.
Okay,
I think like now I'm old and tired. I don't know that it'd be
that
the
would be the
same. But
same.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see if it ever happens.
All right. Well, there's the little beer segment. Now we're going to transition into the later half of these episodes, which are always my
Hmm.
favorite part of the episodes.
Okay.
Um, these are the storytelling part where
Yeah, I'm a
basically,
bit worried about this. I'm trying to think, like, rack my brain to see if I got anything to tell you. But let's see how it goes.
yeah, where basically we just listen to some stories from your time in music, whether it's shows, tours, time recording. As I normally say, they can be anything horrendous to tremendous or any adjective in between.
Oh, what? And I just have to pick one. Just like think of something funny that happened. I'm just
The,
not sure that.
the way I normally think about it is
Yeah.
like, think about like the stories that you and your friends always talk about or reminisce about. Um, that's why this podcast even started, was because me and my friends would tell each other the same stories all the time, and I was like, we need to listen to someone else's stories for once.
I see. Right. Can you give me one of yours first, or do I have to?
Yeah, I can. Let me see what I got. Trying to think if there's anything I haven't mentioned on the podcast yet. If not, I'll just reuse one. Uh, okay, so yeah, I've for sure told this one on the podcast before, but we were this is just a good old drunk show story. But we were going down to play in a different state, and it was probably like a 6 hour drive to get there. It's us and our friends going, and we're all packed in the 15-seater van, going down. But me and one of the other bandmates who were of age are sitting in the very back of the van, because the state that we're going to has different open container laws than the state we're
Hmm.
from, where their law is basically if it's not in arm's reach of the driver, you like are good to go. And we're in the
Yeah, yeah,
back
yeah,
back of the van,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so we each have our coolers. We cross the state line at like 1 o'clock, and we just like are just chilling, just drinking beers in the back. We get to the house show that we're playing, and we don't actually play till 9. And we've been at this point. It took us like 3 hours to get there from the border, so we've been drinking for 3 hours. And then we're like, okay, like we need to go get food. We get food, come back. The show went great, but I was where the merch table was, and I was sitting was also like a fridge of just free beer behind me. So I was just
Hmm.
going for it. There was a bunch of like cigarettes that were just like full cigarettes, not like buds, being put in the
Yeah.
tip jar. So I was just having like a wild time. Um, this story does not end well for me. I don't know why I'm telling this one.
Is it going to show you in a good light? I can't wait to find out.
But basically, I just got to the point where I for sure, I think I'd already planned. I was not driving the van that night. But like I was trying to get into the back of the van, and I couldn't get the doors to shut. And I kept telling someone like, "Hey, can someone like try and get this door to shut? Like I can't get it." Well, my legs were still hanging out the back of the van as I was trying to crawl in, and so I was sitting there just smashing this door on my legs.
Oh gosh.
Um, I didn't feel it the next day, so that's a plus. I
Mhm.
definitely felt hungover, but uh, I didn't feel like the door hitting me. So I like to tell people I've lost to the state of Missouri twice, and that was one of the times.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely got far too high to be playing to be like okay playing so many times. Definitely with my first ever band. I don't know if that's but what the nature of that means it's hard to remember exactly what happened, you know? It's
Right.
kind of,
Yeah.
I guess in your case, someone told you you were smashing the door into your
Yeah.
leg repeatedly.
Yeah. That was not fun. But on like the other side of like on a less crazy story, we were driving. We were just leaving California, trying to head back to the Midwest, and we were going through the desert, and our AC went out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we pull over at like a rest stop. We're trying to fix it. We're just having a miserable time. There's six of us in the van,
Yeah.
and it's brutally hot out. And so we couldn't get it fixed for whatever reason. There was like a crack in the line, so we just were like, okay, screw it. Like we're all just like in our shorts, just driving, like basically as trying to stay as comfortable as we can on this drive.
Mm-hmm.
And we come up against as we're like on the interstate. There's this other van in front of us with a trailer. We're like, oh, maybe it's like a band, also, like that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it was a college um, girls football team. I'll say football because you're in the UK. I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Soccer for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
US
yeah, yeah.
people.
Thank you. Appreciate the
Uh,
translation.
and they're as we're pulling up, they're all like laughing and having a good time, and then they look over and just see us miserable as can be, just all sweaty, and then they immediately just like turn forward and just like stop laughing as we like pass them and just keep going. Um, that one's always kind of funny, but that was like one of the worst moments, just not having AC in the desert.
Oh, what are they laughing at?
Well, I think they were just having like a good time in their van, and then they realized that we were not having a good time, and they were like, "Oh, this is reality."
You bummed them out.
Yeah, a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I feel like all the stories I have like are from this period, yeah, like 2009 to I played in this band or played bass in this band called Great Cynics for like 5 years, and yeah, it was just like the most chaotic lack of organization, like so embarrassing. Like I don't know how we did all the things that we did because we were just like kind of putting, that thing like young and just putting the band before everything, trying to work when you're home,
Mm.
stoned constantly, losing everything, like losing the merch, losing the money, having to go back to the venue out, all of that stuff. But like, I'm just trying to think of like anything, you know, it was just chaos. I can't, I'm struggling to think of like any particular moments, but I'm sure they'll come to me. And
Uh,
then like with ship present, I think we've been kind of like quite well oiled, There's nothing crazy has really happened yet.
yeah.
We'll see.
Well, here I'll give you this prompt.
Okay.
Since the birth of Ship Present to now,
Hmm.
what would you
Hmm.
say is your favorite moment of this project?
Oh, it's a very interesting question. I mean, probably like the one that comes to mind is just the first show that we played after 6 years or however long it was last year in Manchester, and it was at this it's called Manchester Punk Festival, and it's
Mm.
like just all your friends' bands are playing, and like all the people that like this kind of music are there, and like my friend Kieran had said that it'd been so long since we've played and we've only ever released these two EPs. I just was like, just make sure we're playing the smallest like room possible. Yeah, like please get trying to get the reassurance, like no more than like 100 people. Like, and then he told me that we were playing in the small. He told me what venue we were playing, and I was like, "Is there a small room as well?" Because I know that venue is quite big. And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's like a small basement room." I was like, "Great." And then we get there, and he's like, "Yeah, you're in the big room." And I was like, "No!" Like I was so nervous to be playing again, and the room was full and people sang along, and like like we have one quiet song called Melbourne, which I play on my own the first half of the song, and like hearing people like sing along to that when it was just me singing, like I don't know if I've ever had that experience before, and it just felt like yeah, very special to like have that out of being like so scared and not really wanting to even be there playing. I had to like have a big talk with myself on the way home, like people, it seemed like people were enjoying themselves, and like for me to be so like embarrassed all the time and like kind of what's self-sabotaging this project all the time
Right.
is a bit of maybe a mistake.
That's awesome that first show back you have a packed room and
Yeah,
everyone's so
it was
responsive. Like, oh my god.
yeah, that was a really special moment. um yeah, I don't think ship present, I don't really feel like we ever did that much, to be honest. Like we
Yeah.
yeah, we had this one We did a European tour. We did a couple few UK tours, but yeah, we haven't actually got a lot of experience, really. I don't think. We're not one of those bands that have been chipping away at it for years. This is quite new in a way, even though we're like old and the first EP came out in 2015.
Yeah, and
It's
that's totally fine. Um, I guess one question, and I usually don't delve into this just because
Mm,
it's been so long. Obviously, first EP came out in 2015, um, but we're almost 10 years removed since then. But the
mm.
name Ship Present,
Yeah,
like why that, and where did it come
yeah.
from?
Why the fuck did we name it Ship Present? It's a really good question. And again, I don't really remember why I thought that was like funny at the time because um yeah, it's hard to say now, but it's kind of, like with anything, I remember thinking like, well, you just get used to whatever shit you give people. You just name a band anything, and people just like get used to like sonically how the name sounds or whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's something to do with that. And I think I was also like telling myself this story about what like something about guilt and like like if you say like you're being given something and you have to be grateful but you hate what you're being given and it makes you feel like someone doesn't understand, like there's this whole like guilt about being given something that is not like doesn't make you feel good. I can't even really know, but at the time I was like, this really represents me, or I had like some sort of deeper feeling, and like also that it's like a double entendre of it being a shit time is what I liked about it, but
mm,
no one has ever thought of it that way or kind of so it's like it didn't really work that I was like, whoa, like stoned probably at the time, we were like, oh, that's so clever, like the shit present times. um so yeah, it's kind of I quite like though that we have a really stupid name that will probably like hinder any success, potential success. Like lots of people might not check us out because of the name, and I'm kind of okay with that. I like that it's like maybe you had to get past the name to get into it. It's kind of like a
yeah.
special thing in a way,
Well, I think it's kind of like tying into that, like, um, or it could do the opposite where like it really hits hard and then it blows up and you're like, oh fuck, like we're like giant right now. Like, why did we pick this name? Because I think Dave Grohl did like an interview and he's like, I didn't think Foo Fighters was like that good of a name, and now we're doing like world tours and we're fucking called the Foo Fighters. Like, what the fuck is a Foo? So I thought that
Ooh,
was kind of funny when he did that.
yeah, no, I can imagine, but yeah, I think like I definitely don't have like regrets about the name in terms of like the if you I kind of think about being in a band and playing music and like doing something creative is like it's all just a bit stupid and a bit fun and like
Yeah,
silly and just it's a thing to laugh at yourself about and just like try and enjoy. So like having a stupid name and like the better you do with a stupid name is like it kind of adds to like, yeah, we did this like with a really weird band name. That's kind of
that's
like
true.
it's kind of sick, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean it's really like one of those names people love or hate.
yeah.
Lots of people hate.
Well, I also like the tagline that you do. I think it might be on the Bandcamp or I can't remember what social media I saw it on, but it's like another shit band uh,
I
from the
put that
area.
on our Instagram the other day. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it was like a good tie-in for all of that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think that thing of like you are just one of like a sea of fucking bands on you, and it like it's trying to be like self-aware or something, but you are just another shit band that's just trying to release some music and see if anyone likes it.
Right. Well, I mean, you guys are killing it, and we everyone that's listening loves it. Not likes it, loves it.
Oh, it's really nice.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Like I've said multiple times, and like I just said, like Shit Present is doing great things. Like this album, one very stoked for you, and the dudes for first LP, first release in 6 7 years. But I mean, it hits, it jams, it's so good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I know we kind of mentioned potential tours and stuff like that, but if anyone's looking for merch, music, or just Shit Present in general, where can they find
Mhm.
that?
We have a new shit website, www.shitpresent.com, baby. Everything's there, I think. I need to learn how to use it, but yeah, I think there's like some merch and the album there for pre-order and stuff. or Instagram. We aren't allowed to have a Facebook page because of our name, so don't look there. But everywhere else, we've got yeah, social and stuff.
Wow, Facebook fucking up, man.
I know,
Uh,
fuck Facebook.
yeah,
I think this is my theory because I was like, after 6 years, when I was getting logging back into everything, like logging into our emails after 6 years, and I was like, I swear we had a Facebook page. Obviously, if you start a band in 2014, you have a
yeah,
Facebook page, right? But it's gone. No, it's nowhere to be seen. So this is the conspiracy: is I think Facebook took out our page because of the explicit content,
that
and then I tried to create a new one and it said no. So
wow. Yeah, Facebook fucking up, man. But
anyway, yeah,
so go
but
follow him on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll have all those links below depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook. If you found it on Facebook, hit the links and then go find them on not Facebook. But if you're on Instagram or Twitter, hit those hyperlinks and stay up to date with everything that Ship Present has coming out. Stay up to date and be ready for the UK tour dates after this album comes out on the 5th, and be ready for maybe EP3, LP2, and whatever else they have up their wheelhouse. But I mean, Iona, thank you so much for taking the time out of your Saturday to sit down with me and have a couple beers.
of course, thank you for helping me get through my first ever interview. I really appreciate it.
You did great, and I'm stoked that I was able to help you out.
Awesome, man.
um, well, like I said, go follow Ship Present on everything and stay up to date. And I'll catch everyone on the next episode. See ya.